This time to try to finish day 6 of this Advent of Code 2015 puzzle. It's Saturday morning. My kids are in the other room with their cousin who had a sleepover, and they're playing Smash Bros. So if there are shouts and trash talk that you hear in the background, that is what's going on. Just so you know. So let's get down to it. Let's do a quick review of what we have currently. What we have for the problem is a 1000 by 1000 grid that is going to have, let's look at this puzzle input, a set of instructions that's either turn off a range of them, two-dimensional block of them determined by these coordinates. It's either going to turn off or on, off, or toggle, which is make it what it's not. So if it's on currently, then turn it off. If it's off currently, turn it on. And the result is going to be how many are lit after all of those instructions. All right, so where are we now? We have, let's look at our test file here. We have a bunch of tests. We have tested whether we can input things properly. So we go through, can go through this set and load them as strings. We have tested that we can pass those strings into a function and return just the important parts, right? So turn is not important, through is not important, on, the numbers are important, toggle, the numbers are important, off, the numbers are important. So we can return with just these things. We have a function that works. So these are still strings that turns the strings into the appropriate integers so that we can use them for the array that we're going to be, or the iteration, the indexes of these that we're going to be going through. We have test making a struct. That's the instruction struct that has the command, which is that on, off, or toggle, and then integers in sort of plain words, plain English, for what those numbers mean. And we're able to return that. And we've tested our ability to change the lights based on passing in the current condition of, the part of the array that it currently is, and then passing in that command, right? And we have passed all these tests. All right. So now we've sort of got all of the sub functions put together for this problem, at least part one of this problem. Now it's time to start putting it together, I think. So we had talked at the very end of the last stream about making the array. It's sort of a tricky thing because we, in this making an array of sort of fixed lengths, it seems like you can't pass in variables. So we have to sort of hard code that. We tested it with you can see this last thing in the console right here. We tested it with a 3x3 grid when we were doing the, I don't think it's here. I think I deleted it. Must have, it's not there. That if I had 3, 3, 3, 3, it generates that array with, if you're specifying that you want it to be Boolean, it sets it with false. So just this empty make array should give us an array that has the properties of an 1000 by 1000 grid, right? From index 0 to index 99, index 0 to 99 of false, right? And that's what we want to start with, because when our light is off, we're interpreting that as false. When the light is on, we're interpreting it as true. All right. So at the very end, we sort of planned out what we want this to be, right? So we're going to, let's call it light grid. And we're going to set it equal to make array. Okay. And that's all we got to do. So it's going to be returning that. And I'm guessing that we could actually simplify this. But we haven't tested it, so I'm not going to change it. I'm guessing that we could simplify this to just returning this value right here. Or we could just add that to here. Maybe that doesn't even need to be a function, right? But we're already where we are. We don't need to optimize things now, do we? No, I don't think so. All right, so we're going to start with our light grid with 1000 by 1000. And we are going to need to, and I'm sure we're going to have to throw another test in here at some point to show that we can modify with like a line command. It's going to sort of be a not just a function test, but a combination of some of the functions that we've already made working together. But our first step is going to be, so it's passing in the data, which, if you'll recall, is just that line of strings that looks like this. All right, so that's what data is currently going to look like. And we're going to have to, as we iterate through that, change what that line looks like. But still, we'll do and we don't care about the index of this data quite yet. So we're just going to ignore the index. Line of range data. Okay, and this is going to be us going through the lines of our input, right? Okay. And it's just going to output all those lines. Now, what are we going to do with those? We've got to transform that line into an instruction, right? So the first thing we need to do is turn that line into an array. So we're going to say and that should be fine, because we have decided that, we are passing a string into that. Okay. Now we are left with that line of strings, but we don't have, the next step would be getting that instruction, right? Okay. We want to make an instruction out of that string, right? So let's, instead of that, we'll say, we'll do this first. Make instruction. And then what we could do is array line. And that is indeed what it expects, right? And now we have an instruction, which is that struct, right? What we're going to do is simplify this. Sometimes it's easy to just sort of write it out first, right? we're going to simplify that by just adding this into here and getting rid of that. All right. So now the error here is that we haven't used it yet. Good, which is accurate. All right. Now what we have here, and let me show this. So we have instruction, and remember that has parts, right? That has the command, row start, and row end. And if I put a stop there, you'll see that it has those sort of, it knows what they are, right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to need to do a loop, right? So so this is going to be our first loop. We're going to just say row. So a row, if I could spell it, equals instruction. So this is our first loop that we're going to loop through all the rows in this instruction. So we're going to do instruction dot row start. So that's where we're starting, that index. Until row, I don't know why I keep spelling row, while row is less than or equal to, because we're stopping at row end, so we want to include it. Instruction row end, and we will be row increasing that as we go. All right, so this should go through our list of inputs right here, take each one, turn it into the instruction, and then with that instruction that includes row start, row end, make a for loop that loads the value here of row with those indexes, right? And I mean, essentially what we're going to do is then run the command, what did we call it? Change light here into, what the value of the thing is at that index. But we have to now also iterate through the columns, right? So let's do another one of these. We'll just type it out. For call start, while call is less than or equal to instruction column end, call plus plus. All right. All right. So now we are into each individual, should be, right? We're going to test it. Each individual piece of that grid, each value that's appropriate should now be hit. Now, what do we want to do in each of those values? We want to take light grid, which is the name of our array, right? At row column. I don't know why it's mad at me here. I think that's fine. Okay, it's not used. Equals, what's that called? Change light change light, and then we're going to pass in the light state, which is the same value, and the instruction string, which is instruction command, right? I think it knew that, right? Because it's expecting a string, so I think it is the only string, right? So now it should go through and change all them, right? All right, and then at the end of all of the data, what we're going to want to do is find out how many. Okay, so we need to find out how many trues there are, right? So we can do let's see. I wonder if there's an easy. I mean, obviously we could just iterate through it one more time. It's not going to be that big of a deal, right? Because we've done it 1,000 other times. I think there's 1,000 instructions. Actually, let's see. 300 instructions. What's, like another 301? Though some of these are small. Let's see if we can do it a better way. Let me say this. What we want to search for is count array, count occurrences in array. Perfect. I feel like I need to make a little bit of noise because those kids are having too much fun out there. Let me know in the chat if you can hear them, and I can tell them to pipe down a little bit, but not too much. I'm not going to pipe them down too much, right? Because they are kids trying to have fun, right? So I don't want to be a spoil. Okay, so this looks good. So I could use this, right, to make a map. Oh well, they're iterating over it. Yeah, I guess we'll make a map, right? Just do it to get it done, right? So for we'll still say row equals. Can I range over that? I think I can do that. So that's just going to iterate over the rows. And for column light grid row. Gotta make a dictionary first. Map. And it is going to contain bool int let's assume, I'll just make this map first. Why not, right? I'll pre-populate it because there's no reason not to. What do we got? True. Zero. 0, right? So now we know that those are in the map. That's the only thing that should be in the map, right? So let's go ahead and dict light grid row column block, I think. Plus equals 1. I think it should iterate over that and give us all those values. And then what we're going to return, though, what we want to return is dict true, right? We want to return the value of that, which is going to be an int. I think we're good. All right. Let's try it though. Let's make sort of that integration test with part 1 with the our test case. And that. Right, so what does it expect? Data, need to make that data be this load input, so it's only going to iterate through those sets of instructions. There. And let's look at what it should equal at this. So let's just use a little. Okay, so it's going to turn on every light, right? So we've got, should have 1,000,000 lights on. Toggle the first 1,000 lights. So let's just look. 1,000,000 minus 1,000, right? Turn up minus 4. All right. So those should be the 3 steps. Let's test it. I'm nervous. Oh! It worked. All right. Takes a while. Well, though it's doing all this testing, right? All right. So I think that works. Should we that integration test? So should we run it? Everybody, should we run it? I want to run it. All right. See, this is the part of the struggle, the payoff. That's very exciting. All right, let's do it. Go run main. All right, there it is. You know, and I thought it was going to take long, right? I thought it was going to take a long time to iterate all these things, but it only took 100 milliseconds. Well, we think it only took 100 milliseconds. Let's copy and paste and see if that's our answer. All right, so that's the exciting thing, right? All that testing paid off, and we only have to run the actual data one time, and we would have known where everything broke down along the way. All right. Think we can do part two? Let's look at part two. Light pattern mistranslated. Oh God, this is bad. This is bad, everybody. Brightness controls. Each light can only have a brightness of 0 or more. So we're gonna have to change all. Oh boy. We're gonna have to change all of those functions from true falses to numbers. And I mean, I know that we can refactor everything to do this, or make new sort of copies, the Nordic Elvish copies. But the problem with this is that I'm a little bit nervous about how I created this array here. How I can populate it with an integer. I wonder if I make let's make this we'll just keep that name for now. Let's test this guy right here. Just because I want, just like that all started as false, I wonder if it will start as true or as 0 if I don't populate it. Let's check that. Because then it's all just, it's annoying refactoring, right? But it's not the end of the world, right? I don't know how to do this, then I'm screwed. So what should that come out as? It should come out as 3 int. So int and it should be what? I think this makes it easier to look. 0, 0, 0. Let's try it. I don't know if this is gonna have a problem with this. It doesn't look like it does, so let's go for it. It does. Okay, this makes everything better. Let's fail this test just to see. Yeah. Okay. It starts them with 0. Ooh. Okay. Let's look at the instructions again. So turn on means increase, turn off means decrease, toggle means increase by 2. That's easy enough, right? We know that we're iterating everything just fine. So what do we need to make new tests for? What we're going to do is we're going to copy some of these same ones that we know that we need to do. So test load input, make the array, turn the numbers to strings, on row starts and row ends. This is really the only thing that's really going to be different, right? So let's make a new test here. All right. So Let's start with an arbitrary number, 3, right, for all of them. Okay, we're still going to be sending these things in, but if we're doing it on, it should come out 4. Toggle, it should come out 5. Off, it should come out 2. Is that correct? And then we don't need to worry about these ones because these test cases should cover them. All right, so let's test it. It'll fail. We don't have that. So let's put this here. Change light brightness, I believe, was the name of our change light brightness. All right, so we're going to get a light state, and it's going to be an int now. And we're going to get an instruction. It's still going to be a string, and then we're going to return a new int. All right. Do we... Oh, we need to add another test, right? Because what we also need to figure out is if it is 0, we don't want it to go lower than 0. It can't be negative, right? So that the only, if it was 1, it can go down to 0. That's fine. This test case will cover that, or off will cover that. All right, so return light state switch instruction. If the case is on, return light state +1. Why doesn't it like this? If light state is, we're just going to say less than or equal to 0, return 0, else return light state minus equal 1, right? So that's what we're doing here. I don't know why it's mad about this. What's your problem? Tell me the error. What's your problem here? Let's just test it and see what happens. I wonder if we need to surround these in parentheses. So maybe we just need to generate that and then return it. Oh, you know what it is? It's because this is like doing an operation on light state. Let's see. Let's get rid of these. What we want to do is just do this operation right here, and then just return light state. That's what we got going on. So return 0, else light state minus and light state plus equals 2. All right, that should get us what we want. And it does. Okay, so now what we need to do is, I think we're just going to do all of the same things, right? Let's do a test case for part 2. And this is something because we can see there's 2 instructions here. We're going to have, oops, it's still going to be the same, but we're going to use another file here. What's the question then? What is the total brightness for all lights? All right, so we're going to have to, so our would increase one plus toggle to 2 million. All right, so this is what we want our answer to be. Let's pull in, oh good, I didn't get rid of it. Add these 2 test cases. One test case, I guess. All right. Get rid of input. All right, so we don't have a part 2. I didn't save it either. Why isn't it saving? There. So let's make a part 2. And part 1 is probably going to be pretty similar to part 2 with 2 exceptions, right? The first is going to be that we grab a different array, right? We're going to grab the make number array instead of the light grid. And let's collapse that down again so we can see more. All right, we're still going to make those instructions. We're still going to use those instructions. But we are going to set this to, instead of change light, we're going to do change light brightness, right? And then for this, we don't need to do any, let me see, this might be a use for, because all we're going to do is sum the elements, right? So, all right, so let's just see. I'm going to keep this here for now and just comment it out. And I'm going to see if I can just return oh, never mind. I thought that this was just the built-in thing. It looks like you still have to range over the array. Let's see if everybody ranges over the array. Ranges over. Yeah, okay. Let's just do that. What we're gonna do is just make some value which is going to be an int, which is going to equal 0. And for each of those things, we will hold on. That's my wife. She showed up trying to pump those kids to get off their all right, so I think this is what we're gonna do. Save that. Let's test it one more time. Nope, doesn't pass. All right, so that's good to know. Hold on. Okay, so I figured out what the problem is that I haven't changed this back to making one 1,000 by 1,000. So, oops, so I can't do that. Let's see, passes. All right, so let's run it. What? Oh. That looks like that's the intensity at 1/3 of a second. And we got it. All right, we got it, everybody. That's it. One more gold star. And if we look, got our gold stars. All right, join me tomorrow for day 7. We'll try to do it around lunchtime. All right, take care, everybody.